everyone, and welcome back to Lost Planeswalker. You're here with me, Jesse, the Lost Planeswalker, and today we are doing a Tinybones, the Pickpocket Commander deck for the new Outlaws of Thunderjunction set. This is one of the two commander-eligible creatures that were released. The other one is Fizzlethip, Lost on the Range, and I will be doing a deck about him here shortly, but I want to start out by talking about Tinybones, the Pickpocket. This is a very cool commander that I think is going to have some pretty impactful gameplay. He's really good, and I just love him. So let's start out. Tinybones, the Pickpocket, a single black, legendary creature skeleton rogue with Death Touch. Whenever Tinybones, the Pickpocket, deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target non-land permanent card from that player's graveyard, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. So Tinybones does one thing, really. He lets you cast stuff from your opponent's graveyard, which is great. But in order to do that, you have to be able to hit. So our first category of cards we're going to be looking at here is about equipment, specifically equipment that lets you get through or lets you hit more than once. So the equipment I want to show off is Fire Shrieker, Trailblazer's Boots, and Whisper Silk Cloak. Now, if you read Tinybones specifically, he says, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast a non-land permanent card from the player's graveyard. Meaning, if you hit with Double Strike, you get to cast two things potentially, if you have the mana to pay for them. Taking this into consideration, I mean, this could be a pretty sweet deal. Not only giving Double Strike is going to get you that extra stuff, but he has Death Touch, meaning that your first strike damage will go through, and you'll kill whatever's blocking Tinybones if something's blocking it without losing your commander either. So it's a very big win-win here. The other two cards, Trailblazer's Boots and Whisper Silk Cloak, have some pretty cool evasion. Whisper Silk Cloak just says Tinybones can't be blocked, which is great, and Trailblazer's Boots says equip creature as non-basic land walk, meaning if your opponents are playing any land that isn't a basic, you can swing through and hit them without any worry about being blocked. And Trailblazer's Boots, I think, is a card that should be played in way more decks, and it's not, but that's just my opinion. The other cards from this category for equipment for Tinybones are Brass Knuckles, Gavel of the Righteous, and Grappling Hook. I did struggle a little bit to find any other Double Strike or Evasion cards in mono black that was really good for Tinybones. So, you know, maybe there's some equipment you can use to give him flying and whatnot to help him get through. I didn't include that in the deck, but if you see a card and you think it's worth including, please let me know in the comments down below. But secondly, we want to be able to cast stuff from our opponent's graveyards, so we need to be able to fill up our opponent's graveyards. And in mono black, that is discard all the way. So this next section is going to be covering a bunch of different cards. They're going to help us discard a bunch of things into our opponent's graveyards. So starting out, we have Dark Deal, Geth's Grimoire, and Waste Not. So Dark Deal, one of my favorite sorceries that says each player discards all the cards in his or her hand, then draws that many cards -1. So unlike Windfall, everybody doesn't just draw the greatest number of cards, they draw the number of cards they had in their hand -1. Meaning, if you play this on turn 3, you have a likelihood of dumping a ton of things into the bins that you're going to be able to get out with Tinybones, maybe on that turn. So that's pretty sick. Geth's Grimoire, probably one of the best artifacts in this deck, because whenever an opponent discards a card from his or her hand, you may draw a card. Giving us benefit for just having our opponents discard stuff is sick, and us being able to fill up our hands is even better. And then Waste Not, probably, again, one of the best enchantments if you're building a deck based around discard. Whenever an opponent discards a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever an opponent discards a land, add 2 black mana to your mana pool. Whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land card, draw a card. This just got reprinted, I believe, in the Wild of Eldraine set, so the price on this has severely dropped, so it's definitely time to pick up a copy for yourself. So the next set of discard cards I want to look at focus around effects that are just on the board, and there's just nothing you can do to avoid them. So first off, we have Anvil of Bogarden, Bottomless Pit, and Necrogen Miss. So Anvil of Bogarden, 2 generic artifact. Each player skips his or her discard phase. During each player's draw phase, that player draws an additional card and then chooses and discards a card. So you basically draw 2 cards and discard a card, which is pretty cool. But then Bottomless Pit says, during each player's upkeep, that player discards a card at random. And Necrogen Miss, at the beginning of that player's upkeep, that player discards a card from his or her hand. Basically, if you can get the Anvil and Bottomless Pit on the board at the same time, they may be drawing 2, but they're going to be discarding 2 and have no way to draw more cards during the game. It is actually pretty powerful, and you know, any other effect that's going to have your opponent's discard stuff is just going to make it so you just have a wealth of stuff to pull from the graveyard. But some of the other cool discard cards we have is Aklazot's Deepest Betrayal, Chain of Smog, Mesmeric Orb, Mind Crank, Rankle, Master Pranks, Stronghold Rats, Siphon Mind, in Vicious Rumors. So this next section is going to be talking about sacrifice and reanimation, right? Because we want our opponents to sack their stuff so that we can swing through with Tinybones and steal it. But before we start talking about some of those cards, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to my channel. This is the first of many Commander deck, Outlaws of Thunderjunction videos I'm going to be doing. If you didn't see my before you buy video talking about everything we know, and, please look out for that. I would love for you to watch those videos as well. But I'm very excited. Spoiler season for this set starts the 26th, so it's going to be coming up very, very soon, so please keep an eye out for that. So there's a lot of staple cards when it comes to sacrifice and reanimation spells. We have Animate Deads, we have Junji, the Midnight Sky, Terror Grid, God of Fright, but I really didn't want to focus around that because everybody knows those cards. So I wanted to specifically look at some newer cards that I think are very good and very worth playing. So we have Archpriest of Shadows, Body Launderer, and Shieldred. Archpriest of Shadows is a creature, human warlock with backup 1. When this creature enters battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature. If that's another creature, it gains the following abilities until end of turn. Death Touch, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or battle, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Pretty simple. If we put this on Tinybones, maybe we're already getting through, we can just get something back for free on attack. Body Launderer, creature, ogre, rogue with Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Body Launderer connives. When Body Launderer dies, return another target non-rogue creature card with mana value less than or equal to its power from your graveyard to the battlefield. And Shieldred, 3 black legendary creature Phyrexian Creator with Menace. When Shieldred enters battlefield, each opponent sacks a non-token creature or planeswalker. 4 and a black, exile Shieldred, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control, activate only as a sorcery, and only if the opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. And we get the True Scriptures, a saga that reads, Saga 1, for each opponent, destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker that player controls. Saga 2, each opponent discards 3 cards, then mills 3 cards. And Saga 3, put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control, exile the True Scriptures, and return it to the battlefield. Which returns to Shieldred again, that says when it enters, each opponent sacks a creature. So this is an awesome card. Obviously, if you've played this in Commander or seen it, you've seen how powerful it can be. But it's one of those newer cards I want to show off because we have the reliable cards that we've been playing for years and years now, but some of these are worth playing that are very new as well. So some of the other sacrifice cards, and I think this is the biggest category in this deck, is Ancient Brass Dragon, Animate Dead, Braids Arisen Nightmare, Breach the Multiverse, Dogged Detective, Ebon Death Dracolich, Ink Eyes Servant of Oni, Junji the Midnight Sky, Lord of the Forsaken, Necromancy, Nether Trader, Oversold Cemetery, Persist, Phyrexian Reclamation, Portal to Phyrexia, Puppeteer Click, Reanimate, Sepulchral Primordial, Shieldred, Whispering One, Soul Shatter, Terror Grid, God of Fright, Victimize, and Virtue of Persistence. So one of the things that Tinybones I think is going to suffer with being a mono black deck is there isn't a lot of ramp. Right, you can play mana rocks, you can do all kinds of stuff, but outside of that, what can you do to ramp? And there's actually quite a few things I found, including creature ramp. There's a couple of cards that help you ramp very quickly in black with Bogwitch, Cryptghast, and Nirkin Revenant. Bogwitch says black, discard a card from your hand, you add 3 black to your mana pool. Cryptghast has Extort, and whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add an additional black. And very similarly, Nirkin Revenant says whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add an additional black, but in addition, you can pay a black and buff this creature until end of turn. All of these, I love playing these in any decks that I can. The last one here is a little expensive. I might not play this in every deck, but it's a cool inclusion. But in addition to the normal rituals you see, like Dark Ritual, Calling in the Weak, and Cabal Ritual, we have some really cool land ramp, especially in black. And this isn't something we really see in any other color, especially not this many. So some of the ones we don't see as often, we have Cabal Stronghold, Crypt of Agadem, and Lake of the Dead. Cabal Stronghold adds a colorless mana, or for 3, tap and add a black for each basic swamp you control, which in this deck there's 28, so very good. Crypt of Agadem is a land that says it enters tapped, but you can tap to add a black, or pay 2, tap, add black to your mana pool for each black creature in your graveyard, which we plan on filling up. And Lake of the Dead. This is a very expensive card. I wouldn't recommend this one. It was just a cool example to use, but when Lake of the Dead comes into play, sack a swamp or bury it. But you can tap it to add a black to your mana pool, or sack a swamp to add 4 to your mana pool. So maybe if you're getting long in the game and you have a lot of lands, well, instead of tapping it for 1 mana, you can just sack it and get 4 mana. Some other more stapley cards like I already talked about. For mana ramp, we have Bubbling Muck, Cabal Coffers, Cabal Ritual, Culling of the Weak, Dark Ritual, Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, Soul Ring, and Song of the Damned. And lastly, we have the good stuff category, and it is very small because this deck knows what it wants to do and does it very well. And there's just some other cards that kind of fit into some other categories, but we're not going to worry about that here. We have Avatar of Woe, Golgari Thug, and Sir Conrad the Grim. Avatar of Woe is one of my favorite cards if you're playing a deck like this, mono black especially, because if there are 10 or more creature cards in all graveyards, this only costs 2 black. So 2 black, 6/6 with Fear, meaning it can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and other black creatures, is pretty great already. But then you can just tap it to destroy a target creature and it can't be regenerated, which the regen doesn't matter too much, but every turn you just get to kill something for free. For 2 black mana, it seems pretty no-brainer to me. Golgari Thug, if you've played Dredge in any of these decks, you're going to know how good this card is, but when it dies, you can put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library, so maybe you want to get something back. This just helps you do it every time, because Dredge 4 says whenever you would draw a card, you mill 4 cards instead. If you do it, return this from your graveyard to your hand, meaning, yeah, play this every turn as a blocker, put a whole bunch of stuff into your graveyard, and when it dies, you get whatever you want back on top. And Sir Conrad the Grim, legendary creature, human knight. Whenever another creature dies, or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves the graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. This is great. Obviously, in this deck, we're going to be killing a ton of creatures. We're going to be bringing a ton of creatures out of the graveyards. Sir Conrad goes in this deck. Even though I hate playing against it, it's the right call. And some of the other good stuff cards we have is Deadly Dispute, Deadly Rollick, Feed the Swarm, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, Infernal Grasp, Lightning Greaves, and Toxic Deluge. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video, and let me know in the comments down below, what did you think of this deck? I honestly think it's pretty strong. I think the 2 commanders they called out, Tinybones and Fizzlethip, are extremely powerful commanders, and if that is the kind of thing we're going to see for the rest of this set, I am very, very excited, because these guys are mean, and it makes sense why they're in this set. Maybe not Fizzlethip, I think he just got lost. But, yeah, I would really appreciate, anything you guys have to say. If you want to check this deck out and look at all these cards, I have a deck list down below. Please consider sharing this with a friend. Maybe you have somebody who loves Tinybones, or, you know somebody who plays similar decks. Share this with them. Leave a like and subscribe. That would mean the world to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. In today's Scryfall card of the day is Rusted Sentinel. It has to deliberate a moment on the best way to break your face. Okay, Magic 2012. That's a scary one, but thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you later, Planeswalkers.